Leading up to the big week that we're going to have this week, hopefully no leaks, Doug Wyatt is commenting on more sort of questions fans have asked. And fans have asked Doug Wyatt, I hope you have an amazing day. I was wondering if there can be elemental masters of Source Dragon names, like the Master of Motion, Master of Strength, Master of Flow, and the Master of Focus. I find this also interesting that the guy doesn't mention the Source Dragons of Life and Energy. Hence, Lloyd has these elements, which is really cool. Let's talk about Doug Wyatt's response. Doug Wyatt's response that can be leaves a couple of questions that I'm hoping and now wishing were explored in Season 2, Part 2. Let me discuss this quickly. Now, the Source Tournament was all about the sources, and retrospective looking at it, there was not much about the Source Dragons, and I feel like it was just a build-up category that needed to build up. But still, I feel like the Source Dragons and why the Source Temples and all that celebrated the Source Dragons need to have a proper reasoning and a better flow to the story. But at this point, it's just hidden details that we will be getting throughout the seasons, hopefully leading up to something amazing, like what we got in Season 3, Part 2. Now, the question here is really asked, will these elements be shown off in the show, these actual elements? The Master of Strength, we've had elements like Cole's Earth Power be noted as Strength. Noct has Brute Force, which go into that sort of same characterity of Strength. I would love to see a Master of Strength. There is hidden details that people are theorizing that Lord Raz is the Master of Strength. Could there be a Master of Flow? I would find that an interesting element, comparing it to water and wind, because these two elements are literally flow itself. I wouldn't be surprised if Rogera's powers were just a mix match of the flow. Now, Focus being an elemental power really doesn't suit well for me because it is mind. And Motion would be an interesting power to see, but this is kind of a reason why I don't want to see these actually be powers, for one simple reason. Now, the elemental powers of, for example, mainly let's go with Flow and Motion at this point, and Focus are really represented in elemental powers already. Motion can be speed and whatever that Dragonian's power is, because Devonian's power is, Devonian's power is, because they're speed elements, they're motionless. They capture motion in its grasp at any speed. I would love to say the same thing with Lloyd's elemental power being life energy. I love to be that tongue twister where the power's name has changed over time. That'd be pretty cool. Focus, too, on the other hand, is too much like mind. Finding that focus and balance might be a better name than focus, to be honest. And I think balance is already an elemental power. So I don't think focus would fall in the category because it would be too much like balance. And if it's not balance, focus is all about pretty much the mind. So we have a Master of the Mind. Masters of Flow. A Master of Flow pretty much resembles Nia's and I was about to say Ejutsu's. Euphrasia's power. I would like to say we don't get a Master of Flow. I feel like it'd be a bit too awkward for those elements. Now, Strength, the only reason I have an issue with Strength out of the main three, more than less, is because Strength can be categorized into several different things. We saw how an elemental master of Brute Force used his strength compared to how our master of Coal uses his strength of Earth. And admittedly, it is quite silly and a bit stupid that only he uses it with Shadow Spin, not as an actual element. So I wouldn't want to see a strength power. I do find this to be an interesting thing. And actually, going back onto the Source Dragon of Focus, I don't think they would have a Source Dragon of Balance, an elemental of balance under him, because there is already an Source Dragon of Balance. So It is complicated if we do see these things as elemental powers. I would be interested to see how they would operate, how they would work, and seeing what the differences between the elements are. I think things that do work well with similar elements, like for example heat and fire, is the different constructs. I definitely will keep saying that heat hasn't really been explored much as a power, and has a lot of potential to be a great element. But for example, an element like Quake, to me that's just a silly choice of powers. You're just downgrading one of the ninja, which then again is pretty strong at this point. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments. Thank you guys for watching today's video, and let me know, would you like to see these Source Dragons names be powers? Do you think that would be interesting? Peace out, guys.